Hi, my name is Tamma Carel. I work as a senior environmental consultant. I'm the founder of Envelo Limited, which is a Northeast-based consultancy and training business. And I am also the co-founder of iCore Systems, which is a software solution specifically focused around environmental and health and safety legislation for businesses. I set up my first business 10 years ago, Envelo Limited, with the express goal of helping larger organizations integrate the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals into their organizational strategies to ultimately improve their sustainability performance. Through that, realized regulation was a really big driver, but this was a really difficult thing for businesses to understand, access, and apply. So we built a software solution to try and reduce that barrier so that the programs and projects that businesses undertake are fundamentally legally compliant, meeting legislation as a bare minimum requirement, and then obviously sustainability is the journey from the bare minimum to being the best in terms of environmental performance. I would define the circular economy or circularity based on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation definition, which is ultimately looking at business products, processes, and services and identifying the opportunities to eliminate waste and pollution, to circulate products and materials at their highest value for as long as possible, and ultimately to regenerate nature. And the reason that I'm so passionate about this is I was originally born and raised in South Africa, in the bush, and I saw firsthand how closely connected human survival is to the natural environment. So fundamentally, I would consider myself a conservationist. I am trying to regenerate nature, but doing it strategically through my clients who are generally bigger than I am and who have more power, authority, influence, and resources to affect better change. And I'm extremely passionate about helping organizations go through this journey towards sustainability to ultimately improve their organizational performance, but to make the world a better place for all of the people living in it and for all of nature to continue to survive and thrive. The advice I would give to someone who is beginning to develop a company to look at a circular business model is not only to think about the circularity of products and materials, but to think about the systems that are necessary to eliminate waste and pollution. We often think of circularity in terms of the things that we do, but those things can only be circular if the system behind them support it. For example, if you would like to recover waste to feed that into a new manufacturing process, you need correct and legally compliant systems to recover that waste. You need to make sure that the processing of it is safe and legally compliant, and you have to have the infrastructure in place to be able to reprocess it into the product that you'd like at the end of the day. Unfortunately, it's not always simple, but with a little bit of strategic consideration, it is entirely possible to redesign the systems. And I think the biggest takeaway from that really is to challenge the way that things have always been. Just because they've always been that way doesn't mean that it's the best way to support circularity, and sometimes a little bit of agitation or disruption to those normal processes can bring about the biggest benefit for circularity. One of the things I wish people knew about the most was really the green marketing guidelines that came out in 2019. This is governing how organizations communicate about their environmental performance. Historically, we've always known it's illegal to falsely advertise, to miscommunicate about the benefits derived from your product's activities and services. But for whatever reason, that always hasn't always translated to environmental and sustainability communications. So the Competition and Marketing Authority released some guidance for how businesses can and can't communicate about the environmental performance of their products. And I think this is a really useful structured framework that businesses can follow when they think about circularity and communicating it, to make sure that what you're claiming is in fact the truth and that it can be validated. I think unfortunately in the sustainability sphere, there are lots of words that are used and not all of these words are regulated. So environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, all natural are actually words that don't mean very much from a scientific or verifiable perspective. So it's just thinking carefully about what needs to be conveyed and making sure ultimately that you have the evidence in place to back that up. The opportunities in this sector are endless. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, if you're not familiar with them, I would highly recommend that you check them out, are essentially 17 of the world's biggest problems that need to be solved in order for us to progress to sustainability. Under those 17 goals, there are 169 scientifically validated targets. And essentially, every single one of those opens up a business opportunity, 169 challenges that need to be solved for the world to progress to sustainability. And every single one of those is a potential market opportunity. I always say to my clients, to anybody who's thinking about setting up a business in this sphere, essentially if you structure your core purpose around one of the SDGs, you'll know that you're going in the right direction in terms of circularity and sustainability. You'll have decades of science and data to back up the decisions that you make within your organization. For the most part, the marketing's already done through the SDG icons and communication via the website, but also not all of the solutions exist. So there are gaps in that open up for new businesses and new markets and new opportunities. It's really exciting to hear that you've been embarking on this journey towards creating circular and sustainable business. I wish you all the very best of luck with it. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you today, but I'd be more than happy to take emails or LinkedIn requests afterwards. Happy to have a chat and answer any questions that you might have. I hope you all have a wonderful day.